Hello, good morning. Greetings to all of you. I hope you are excellent at home. Today, as usual, we have our English class. So, let's start. Unit 6, Lesson 6, Objective 8.2. Today we are going to study grammar, expressing obligation, prohibition with must and must not, and expressing past obligation and prohibition. And of course, we are going to have some sentences to practice. Let's check the modal verb must. Must means in Spanish deber o debes. Mustn't or must not means no deber o no debes. We use the modal verb must or mustn't to talk about obligation and prohibition. Imagine that at home you have some rules. Those rules could be an obligation. One of those common obligations among us is you must clean your room. That is an obligation. Another one could be you must study. That's an obligation, maybe imposed by someone else. In the case of a prohibition, is something that you are not allowed to do. For example, you mustn't go out at midnight, or you mustn't go out without the mask. So, to express an obligation, you are going to use must. To express a prohibition, you are going to use mustn't. Examples. Talking about obligation in a positive way, we have the subject at the beginning, then the word must, then the verb, and the complement. Here you have the examples. You must wear a uniform. Tú debes usar uniforme. Ruth must study for the test. Ruth debe estudiar para el examen. I must work every day. Yo debo trabajar todo el día. Here you have the subject, the modal verb, the verb, and the complement. Now using mustn't to express a prohibition negative way. You need the subject at the beginning, then the modal verb in negative way, then the verb and the complement. Examples. We mustn't play in the hall. You must not go out. He mustn't stay up all night long. All these sentences are prohibitions. Here you have the subject, the modal verb, the verb, and the complement. Now, asking about obligation using must in a question. You need must at the beginning, then the subject, then the verb, and the complement with a question mark at the end. Example. Must you study every day? ¿Debes estudiar todo el día? Must you study every day? Here you have the modal verb, then the subject, the verb, and the complement. And the answers could be in a short way or in a long way. Yes, I must. Sí, sí debo. No, I mustn't. No, no debo. These two are short ways to answer, positive and negative. Yes, I must study every day. No, I mustn't study every day. These two are long answers, positive and negative. Now let's check had to and couldn't. Had to means in Spanish tenía que, and couldn't no podía. We use had to and couldn't to talk about past obligation and prohibition. We use didn't have to for absence of obligation. Si vamos a hablar sobre obligaciones o prohibiciones que teníamos que hacer en el pasado o que teníamos en el pasado, usamos el had to o el couldn't. Y si vamos a hablar de una obligación o ausencia de obligación en este caso, utilizamos didn't have to. How can we work with these modal verbs? Using had to. You need the subject, then had to, then the verb in present tense, and the complement. Examples. I had to send that email. Yo tenía que mandar ese correo. You had to do the activities. Tú tenías que hacer las actividades. She had to wake up early. Ella tenía que despertarse temprano. Here you have the subject, the modal verb, the verb, and the complement. Now didn't have to. Absence of obligation. You have the subject at the beginning, then did not, then have to, the verb, and the complement. Examples. You didn't have to cook that food. Tú no tenías que cocinar esa comida. He did not have to take pictures. Él no tenía que tomar fotos. We did not have to travel there. Nosotros no teníamos que viajar allí. So, didn't have to es no tenía, no teníamos. Here you have the subject, did not, have to, the verb, and the complement. Now couldn't, to express prohibition and past obligation. You have subject at the beginning, followed by could not, then you have the verb, then the complement. Examples. You couldn't say no to her. Tú no podías decirle no a ella. They could not record in the street. Ellos no podían grabar en la calle. I could not argue with my mom. Yo no podía discutir con mi mamá. So here you have how to express prohibition in past tense or in the past. Subject at the beginning, could not, followed by the verb and the complement. Now, you are supposed to write or to create sentences to talk about an obligation or a prohibition. Look at the following image. Is this a prohibition or an obligation? An obligation. Can you say what is the obligation? Of course not, because it is a prohibition. This is a prohibition. And the prohibition is you must not smoke inside the house. You mustn't smoke inside the house. Next one, an obligation or prohibition. Obligation, letter B is an obligation. The obligation is you must wash your dish. Next one, letter C, obligation or prohibition. Obligation, and the obligation is you must wake up early. Letter D, prohibition or obligation. Prohibition, you mustn't watch TV. Imagine that you are in a house with plenty people and all of them go to bed really early. So TV is not allowed. You mustn't watch TV. Next one, obligation or prohibition. Prohibition, you must not touch the camera. Next one, obligation or prohibition. Obligation, and the obligation is you must take a shower every day. Now your turn to practice. Complete the sentences. You are going to complete these sentences using a verb and action that fit, okay? According to what you read here. Now, if you need some more information, you can check this book. Please let me know if you have questions. You can send me an email or try to contact me by the application Moodle. Thank you very much and take care.